Hello, everybody. I wanted to redo my stream that I did last night because I didn't realize that my microphone wasn't picking up my voice. So when I checked that, I realized that it wasn't, and I thought I would redo this as a recording. So this is the topic on the New River pastor who was murdered, and it was a homicide. And what we have is a couple of reports that were done on Channel 12 News, as well as an update that I had prepared based on the Q&A section of a press conference from MCAO yesterday. So I'm going to start off with the video of the initial one from 2 weeks ago that kind of highlights the initial information that was shared with the public. And then we'll go from there to the next videos from Channel 12 News. And then I'll end with my just a minute long video that I captured from the Q&A section. That'll bring you up to date on the latest news. I was asked from some of my subscribers to provide this information or these updates as I come across them. So, and this is close to Northern Phoenix, so I wanted to make sure that I covered it and provided that information to everybody that's here. So with that, I'm going to go to get my presentation, sharing my screens. And we'll do that one. Okay. So I'm going to run this one first. It's just a portion of it. Here we go.
So as you may know, our victim is 76-year-old Pastor William Schaineman. The suspect's name is Adam Schief. In the early parts of April 2025, Adam Schief left his home state, walked away from his job, and traveled to Arizona. Adam Schief had a plan. In late April, he was in the area of the New River Bible Church, where Bill is the pastor, and a community member noted his suspicious behavior. In the days following, Adam Schief is alleged to have committed a burglary in the area. And as he fled as law enforcement was arriving, and law enforcement was unable to apprehend him at that time, unfortunately. Law enforcement did take some of his property at that time as evidence. Schief returned to the area and is alleged to have stolen a vehicle in the days preceding the homicide. William Schaineman was last seen alive on April 27th. On April 28th in the evening, a welfare check was conducted on Bill, and at this time he was found in his home where he lived alone, deceased, and the homicide investigation commenced. Out of respect for Pastor Schaineman and his family, I won't be sharing details of the crime scene today. The scene and Bill's church were processed for about 2 days, where we're looking for possible evidence and signs of a motive. Based on what we found, it did not appear that robbery or theft was a motive in this case. On April 29th, Sedona PD was called to investigate a series of crimes to include a burglary, unlawful flight from law enforcement, a minor hit and run collision in which the previously mentioned vehicle allegedly stolen by Schief was recovered by Sedona PD near a trailhead. Schief was unfortunately again not apprehended at that time. Items recovered from that vehicle suggested a link to our homicide scene. On April 30th, MCSO was made aware of the suspicious behavior previously mentioned by Adam Schief at the New River Bible Church. This was a crucial link in our investigation. MCSO and Sedona PD began to collaborate in this case, and Adam Schief was subsequently taken into custody by Sedona PD with the help of the Yavapai County Sheriff's deputies, as well as a regional quick response force. At this time, I'd like to stress that William Schaineman is a true victim in every sense of the word. We are unaware of any tie between Schaineman and Schief, and there are no known credible allegations of criminal activity, criminal association, or activity by William Schaineman that would have led to this tragedy. He was targeted at random. At this time, we have information that suggests Sheaf acted alone, and there is no further danger to the community from Adam Sheaf. The information we have has indicated that the motive was religious in nature, and that there were a number of future victims planned, some of those in Arizona, and that he had taken action in furtherance of those additional crimes. We have been in contact with those identified victims, and we are investigating or assisting with those incidents as well. Charges are pending and are planned to be submitted very shortly. The investigation is wrapping up. Once those charges have been submitted and an indictment decision's been made, we will have additional details that we could make available to the public. At this time, as the investigation is wrapping up, I have to remind everyone that these are still allegations and that Adam Sheaf is innocent until proven guilty. I'd like to thank the community, the homicide team and members, the crime lab personnel, the data analysts, the FBI, Sedona, Yavapai County, and the other law enforcement partnerships that we've worked with in this region that have brought this investigation to where it is now. Thank you.
So I'm going to pause it there. And I wanted to make sure that you saw just the specific information regarding Pastor Bill. And now I'd like to share with you the videos that were available from Channel 12 News when they have 3 different stories that were created. And this is the first one from approximately 2 weeks ago.
And as we begin tonight, there's a major new development in the murder of a beloved New River pastor. The Maricopa County Sheriff's Office says they've now identified a suspect connected to the killing of 76-year-old William Shoneman. The pastor was found dead in his home back in April.
And tonight, for the first time, 12 News journalist Kyle Simchuk steps into the pastor's church and hears from those who knew and loved him.
For more than a month, the murder of Pastor Bill Shoneman has haunted the New River community.
If somebody that knew him, they couldn't have done this.
On Friday, detectives announced the biggest break in the case so far. A suspect has been identified, but authorities are not ready to name them. That person is currently in custody of another law enforcement agency on unrelated charges. We don't know if that agency is here in the Valley, Arizona, or another state. The news brings a mix of hope and heartache for Shoneman's family and congregation at the New River Bible Chapel.
I'm at a loss for words because I cannot imagine anyone in the whole world who would want to hurt that man.
Diane Brown says Shoneman was more than her pastor.
Bill was my closest friend.
A welder by trade, Shoneman was always tinkering around his property, building custom cars and making frequent trips to Circle K for hot dogs and Dr. Pepper. Known to many as Pastor Bill, he spent more than 3 decades leading this church.
We're a bunch of sheep who have lost our shepherd, and it's really hard. Really hard.
Still, the heart of this small church beats on.
We know where he's at. Okay. And I have to be at peace with that. I don't like the way that his life was taken, but I know he's at peace.
Shoneman's son Randy is still grappling with the reality that he'll never hear his father's voice over the phone again. He says the latest developments are a step toward justice.
I don't think we're ever going to truly understand this person that did this. I hope that I can understand why a person would do something like this.
The sheriff's office says more information could be released in the coming weeks, but for now, any additional details could jeopardize the case.
He would be the first one to forgive them. God knows my heart, and he knows that right now I can't.
In New River, Kyle Simchuk, 12 News.
All right, Kyle.
So you can see that that was pretty powerful as far as sharing that personal touch from the close friend of Pastor Bill and the impact to the community. So it's rather outrageous that someone would take it upon themselves to take another's life. And I'd like to go with now that was from 2 weeks ago. And now we had more recent reports from Channel 12 News. And this is specifically regarding the jailhouse interview and confession from the actual suspect himself. And so I'm going to play that one next. Once I get it set up in here, okay? Share that screen. Okay. So this is the call that was released 2 weeks ago, and this one was released a day ago, and then following the next one.
I only want to execute and crucify the priests that are leading the flock astray.
You heard that correctly. Tonight, a full confession from the man accused of killing a longtime pastor just north of the valley. Adam Schief is his name. In his own words, he tells 12 News he planned on executing and crucifying more than a dozen priests across the country before he was caught by police. His first victim was Pastor William Shoneman of New River. Thank you for joining us for 12 News at 10. I'm Troy Hayden.
And I'm Kariba Devine. Tonight, 12 News journalist Chase Golightly spoke with Schief while in custody about the murder. We do want to warn our viewers that what you're about to hear is disturbing.
In other states, what do you have to say about those allegations?
All of those allegations are correct.
Speaking to 12 News from his jail cell in Coconino County, Adam Schief admitted to murdering 76-year-old Pastor Bill Shoneman with the goal of killing 13 other priests.
My plan was to start in Phoenix and then circle 10 states around the nation with the 13 tribes of Israel, and then to finish in Phoenix, where I was baptized.
Schief says his motivation behind the murders had everything to do with religion, calling it Operation First Commandment, believing the New Testament and Jesus Christ goes against the First Commandment that says you shall have no other gods before me.
His commandments have been annulled by this character called Jesus, a human being who I believe is the son of Satan.
Believing he is carrying out a crusade for God.
Have you ever considered that you're just mentally unwell?
No, I mean, maybe I'm the one that sees truth, and maybe it's everybody else that is deceived by Satan. But if that makes me mentally ill for following what God says, then so be it.
He was living in California when Schief tells me the idea came to him to kill religious leaders. Schief said not much planning went into the murders, just a couple of months. That's when he decided to come to Arizona, where he stole a car and found Shoneman stalking him outside his New River church, where he was the pastor for more than 30 years.
I saw that he had a Wednesday evening Bible study, so I sat there and waited for them to arrive so that I could locate which one was the priest, and then I just followed him home, and then I returned on Sunday to execute and crucify him to his wall.
He then...
So that was his brief summary of his jailhouse confession. The next video is more detailed, a little bit more elaborate, so please be wary when you watch and listen to this. I'm going to play it in the full length because that's probably going to give you the most information and catch you up to date.
Spoke with Schief while in custody about the murder. We do want to warn our viewers that what you're about to hear is disturbing.
I say let's just get right into it, Adam. What do you have to say about the accusations against you in this case?
I think in what regards?
Just you're accused of killing a pastor out of New River. The Maricopa County Sheriff's Office says that you were planning on carrying out several other murders here in Arizona and maybe in other states. What do you have to say about those allegations?
All of those allegations are correct.
And can you just tell me why choose New River? Why go after Pastor Bill?
Well, my plan was to start in Phoenix and then circle 10 states around the nation with the 13 tribes of Israel, and then to finish in Phoenix, where I was baptized when I was 3 years old, and that would be for Adam. So the reason being is the first commandment. I feel that Christianity, I was raised Christian, breaks the first commandment. Our Father, God, the Father, Yahweh alone is God. And anyone preaching that the Son is God or a human being is God breaks the first commandment and has led the flock astray. Anyone preaching that to me has led the flock astray. And so therefore, that's why I was going after them.
And just tell me, they said that you came in from out of state. Where did you come from going into Arizona?
California. So I came from Oceanside, California. I was living on the beach, a beautiful beach home, and I just felt like nobody could hear a word I was saying. That the first commandment, Yahweh alone is God. His commandments have been annulled by this character called Jesus, who I believe is the son of Satan, which is why he's worshipped as God, the Antichrist. And I was born in Phoenix, so I went to Phoenix first because where it starts is where it ends, like in the Garden of Eden. God himself said that Israel is his firstborn son, the 13 tribes of Israel. Adam is the one and only created son, if there's a one and only, in his father's image, which is God. And my plan was to start in Phoenix and to end in Phoenix. So 13 tribes of Israel, starting with Benjamin, the youngest of the sons, in ascending order all the way to Reuben. And then the 14th was for Adam, who God himself spoke out of his own mouth and declared were his sons. Not this Jesus. I don't know where Jesus came from. He's nowhere in the original Hebrew Bible, which is called the Old Testament. The New Testament says, oh, well, that's the old and this is the new. Says who? That's not what God said. God said his laws are eternal and they're forever, and never to be annulled by anyone.
If we can talk about Pastor Shaneman for a second. The Maricopa County Sheriff's Office said that you actually went to his church in New River. Is that true? Where did you first see Pastor Bill Shaneman?
Well, the first church I went to was on Olive Street, the Church of Christ, on Easter Sunday. When I followed him home, 2 women came out of the garage to meet him. And so that was not part of my plan. I only want to execute and crucify the priests that are leading the flock astray. So I then told myself, well, I need to find a priest that lives alone. So I was driving around looking for different churches. I came across New River. It was on a Wednesday afternoon. I went into it was empty, it was vacant, so I went into the little mobile office. I saw that he had a Wednesday evening Bible study. So I sat there and waited for them to arrive so that I could locate which one was the priest. And then I just followed him home. And then I returned.
It's just amazing to me that he had planned as much as he did, and coming back to Phoenix to start to end where it started. That just doesn't make sense to me. I have to believe there's some sort of mental disability with him. He really needs to be examined. It's just, I'm mind boggled, and how he stalked two priests before he was planning to move on to take the lives of 13 other priests. And you'll see in the coming up that his plan was to go around the country as he stated, but to the representation of the 14 priests. He'll explain that in a moment.
On Sunday to execute and crucify him to his wall.
I was going to say, what time did that happen? Did you ever speak with Pastor Bill?
No, I never spoke to him.
And then what time was it that you said that you went in to execute and crucify him on Sunday? What time did that happen?
It was actually early Monday morning. It'd be like 2 to 3 a.m.
How did you get in the home?
I just walked in it.
It was unlocked?
Yes, it was unlocked.
And then did he say anything to you? Did you say anything to him during this?
Yeah, I said, are you praying to Jesus right now? And he said, yes. And I said, good, because he can't hear you. God the Father alone is God is the first commandment, and the Son that wears the crown is Adam. Jesus is the son of Satan. And he said, oh, come on. And then I said, hold still.
How do you take centuries of beliefs from everybody, and you're the only one who thinks so different? And coming from a desert area, beach home, he says, and then making his decision on how he's going to handle this, and believing that he's going to make a change across the world. This is not something that one person can do, in my perspective, from my opinion, but just the way he's handled it, you don't murder to murder, right? It doesn't make sense to me. So I don't understand his logic, and I don't agree with his plan here that we're listening to. It's very mind-boggling and driving me crazy just to listen to his interview. I've watched it 3 times so far.
And I executed him. And then I got in a high-speed chase.
And who's he to execute another human's life? That's not his role. And he does not have that responsibility.
The police and escaped, got into a car crash, got out, ran up a mountain and escaped. And I was just determined to get those 2 priests. So instead of leaving, I hiked all through the night because I couldn't walk on the main road or be spotted by an officer. I hiked all the way back to the tent to that church. The next day, I thought, well, you know what?
So he recognizes the law. He recognizes that we are on earth. He recognizes that what he's doing is probably illegal, obviously, because he's afraid of the law catching him. And I know his plan was to keep going to reach 14 priests throughout the country, but the planning stage is just messed up. I don't understand how we didn't plan better or not plan at all and just get some help.
When the priest gets into the car, I'll just jump into the back seat and tell him to drive to his house. But when I went to get into the back seat, there was an old lady like on a little bicycle, like one little floor-like bicycle. She like got in front of me, and so I thought, you know what, I need to get a vehicle and follow them home and be a lot easier that way. So that's how I ultimately got apprehended. Is I went into a house. That video of me like walking around that house was actually like looking for a vehicle, which is why I went into the garage. And I triggered the alarm, and then I was in my tent, and there was a drum above me, and then another chase with the police went on for like maybe, I don't know, a half hour through that mountainous little area.
I did want to ask, how long were you planning this?
You know what? I had not planned it for very long. I was in the desert. I went to Phoenix. And maybe for like a couple months, I was thinking about it because everywhere I went, like I live on the beach, there's people preaching Jesus is God. I go into the grocery store, every magazine had the face of Jesus on it. I mean, it is,
That's just not true. Not every magazine has a picture of Jesus, and Jesus is the Son of God in that respect from the Old Testament and New. And he needs to understand that he's not representing God on earth, right? He's not our Lord and Savior. That's my perspective and my teachings as a child. So I don't understand again why he thinks that everything was coming in on him representing Jesus and he's a false son of God and Adam is the real son of God. It's his interpretation and that's fine. But again, when you take it to the nth degree and take somebody's life and plan to take others' lives, that's not acceptable. That's just wrong. So, I do believe he should stand trial. I don't think he's that far off this ability to understand the process. We'll see what happens, but I'm going to continue the interview here. But I'm just pissed off, you know.
Just bombarded by it, and at the same time, sin is at the maximum. You know, the drugs are flooding into this nation. You can buy drugs cheaper than you can buy McDonald's and easier.
And his actions on taking others out is going to change the drugs coming in and all the other things that are going on in the country. This doesn't make sense to me. I don't understand why he thinks that this is going to make such a big drop in the bucket. It's a drop in the bucket, I should say. It's not going to impact the overall population.
You know, pornography, the sanctity of marriage is completely eroded. It's worse than the days of Noah. And it all goes hand in hand with breaking the first commandment. All Satan has to do is switch who God is, and all of God's commandments go out the window. Oh, there's a new covenant, they say. God's laws have been annulled. Just worship this man and you go to heaven. That's what Satan would say. That's why this world is a wreck. So I call it Operation First Commandment. You know, I'm going to strike Satan attacks the first commandment the hardest because all he has to do is switch who God is, and society goes over the cliff. Well, I'm gonna fight back the first commandment full speed, and I'm gonna these preachers that are preaching these lies that a human being is God, when God Himself said 5,000 times that He alone is God. He says His name 6,828 times in the original Hebrew text, that they removed it and replaced it with Lord. You know, that's the name, that's the tattoo that I have across my neck. And it's YHVH, and the proper pronunciation of that is Yahweh.
So he has God's Hebrew written name on his neck, but he hasn't been planning this that long. So it kind of seems like he's had this in the back of his mind for a while, and now he's just acting upon it.
So, you know, that's why. I mean, it's Operation First Commandment. That's the whole. So I really developed that camping in the desert, you know, and really strategized what my plan was going to be. Had I been better prepared, I obviously probably would have, you know, executed all 14 priests, because had I got all their addresses first before I executed one and just hit one right after the other, I don't think there would have been any way to stop me. But with all that being said, everything happens the way it's supposed to.
I'm going to ask you that one more time. How many people were you planning to execute?
13 for the tribes of Israel, who God himself said, Israel's my firstborn son. Exodus chapter 4, verse 22. He said to Moses, go tell Pharaoh, Israel's my firstborn son. Release my firstborn son, or I will kill all of your firstborn sons. That's God. God doesn't preach, he commands. And then the 14th was for Adam, where I was baptized.
So any priest in the country would suffice for his needs to represent the 14 that he was planning to execute? Wouldn't it be seemingly more important to pick specific priests that represent people? I don't support it by any means. Please don't misunderstand me, but to just take out priests throughout the country, which obviously he wasn't going to be able to pull off because he's not a big planner here. And he already got caught after the first one. And it's just so sad to me that Father Bill had to be executed, as he says, Chief says, and then it be able to be on the run for so long and potentially go after 2 other priests in the Phoenix area. Sounds like he wanted to stay local and just try and take out all 14. I don't think he had the ability to go around the country, but that's just me thinking out loud.
So, because nobody can deny Genesis chapter 1, verse 27, God created Adam in his image. In his likeness, he created him, male and female, he created them, which is Eve, Hava. So, you know, that's why there was 14, and I was going to circle the country, all right, so that the whole entire nation could say, you know what? He's right. God did say that he alone is God. That is the first commandment. And his commandments, he said we are to follow forever. They're never to be changed by anybody. You know, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, cheek for cheek. That's the corrective measure to sin. You know, if they turn the other cheek, that's what cowards do. If everyone turned the other cheek, Satan would run rampant, and who could stop him? You know,
God is love, don't forget. He represents love, kindness, compassion. Why else would he put us on this earth? And yes, Adam was the firstborn, and then Eve was introduced to Adam as companionship, or whatever you want to describe it as from the Bible, the Testaments. And then to have Jesus return to earth representing God to show us our way and follow our lead, to give us a leader to show people how life should be. He even taught us how to pray to God. So why are you taking it out on Jesus, who is the Son of God represented on earth? Did you forget that? And then we took him out too. Sorry, I didn't.
said eye for eye, tooth for tooth, cheek for cheek. Jesus came along and annulled all of God's laws. And our society is a wreck. God doesn't speak one single word in the New Testament. It was written in Greek.
It's called free will. God provided all human beings with free will. We have the option to choose. That's what happened. Do you remember that part of the Testament? Because that's important too, don't forget. It's not always on God that's causing that we're causing all this havoc and uproar. Everybody's making choices. And God gave us that right.
It was added to the original Hebrew Bible. They called that the New and not the Old. So You know, and I know you can't hear me. I know you can't hear what I'm saying, but if you've done your research like I've done, and you've studied like I've studied, and you've put the time.
He has interpreted the New and the Old and New Testaments in the way he perceives them. Okay. I don't know if he's spoken with anybody else. He says he's reached out and people might not hear him. I don't think that's the right verbiage. They might not understand where he's coming from, but we definitely can hear what he's saying, and it's burning my ears. I'll tell you that. I don't understand why he thinks it's okay for one person versus the rest of the world to think the way he thinks.
An effort into it. It's all right there. But we just go to church and believe whatever we're taught. We just do what everybody else does, and we say, "Oh, well, surely they can't all be wrong." Well, yeah, surely they can. Look around.
Hey, no, not everyone does. Some people go to church. Some people read their Bible at home. Some people attend online. Some people don't go to church at all, but they still believe in God and pray. So it doesn't. This labeling everybody's a sheep following the herd or whatever. It's just not the right way to say it, and I don't understand why he thinks that he can label everybody into one group.
Society's a wreck.
Well, Adam, you gave your reasoning saying this is these attacks, these murders were done with religious motivation. But like you said, I might not be able to hear you. Other people watching this might not be able to hear you. So I do want to ask you, have you ever considered that you're just mentally unwell?
No, I mean, maybe I'm the one that sees truth, and maybe it's everybody else that is deceived by Satan.
I did want to say, what also made you be willing to talk with news stations to share your side of the story? What motivated you want to do this interview?
Because I'm willing to do whatever it takes to get the first commandment back in place. You know, Yahweh alone is God, and nobody even knows his name, which he says in the last days, no one will know my name. And so the first commandment has to be corrected first, and then the rest of his laws come into place. The rest of his eternal laws, second commandment, third commandment, fourth commandment, fifth commandment, sixth commandment, and down the line. There's 613 laws he gave to the Israelites. But it starts with the first commandment, acknowledging who he is. So if that makes me mentally ill for following what God says, then so be it.
As you said, you admitted to the allegations against you. What do you think should happen to you? Right now you're in Coconino County Jail. What do you think should happen to you at the end of this?
Well, what I'd like to happen is I'd like them to put me on death row, and I'd like them to set the execution date quickly to show them that the story of God sacrificing his son is utter BS. God is a lion's lion, a gladiator's gladiator, protective like you can't imagine. Cain killed Abel, and if anyone touched Cain, you were avenged sevenfold, and that was God's grandson. You try and kill Adam and watch what happens to you. So the whole story of God killing his son is BS. And then the son being God and replacing God is how Satan operates. So I invite the government to, let's do a demonstration. Put me on death row, set the execution date for right now. The victims want it, the victims' families want it, I want it, and the taxpayers want it. So what's the holdup? The government? The government is the one that's holding this up? Why? So let's set the execution date and let me demonstrate what happens when you try and kill God's son.
So he's saying he's God's son. That's what I'm hearing. And he wants to have himself killed. And what? He's going to be resurrected. He's not going to pass. Where's the logic in that?
It's not going to happen. God is protected like you can't imagine, and I'm protective of him in return.
The other thing I want to ask you is you're talking about the first commandment. Just looking at the commandments right here, I mean, one of them is thou shalt not murder. Doesn't that kind of counteract what you're saying with these commandments is that it says thou shalt not kill?
Okay, so let me ask you this. The president of the United States, he sends the military to go attack, and they kill their target. Is that murder?
Hey, that's what we decide to do as a leadership and government in this country. Answer the question, though. You're breaking the first commandment of thou shalt not kill. if that is the first commandment. I didn't look it up, but I know he corrects that in a moment if he's right. But at the same time, it's unacceptable to me that he can go ahead and murder, but then he wants to compare it to what's going on around the world. Talk about yourself.
You don't consider that murder, right? Because the president commanded it. God commanded that if anyone preaches anyone other than him as God, we are to execute them. So yeah, thou shalt not kill is a commandment. It's the 6th commandment, by the way. But how much higher is God, the one who created the universe? How much higher are his commandments than the president's? So we'll justify killing for the president in the military, but yet we won't follow what God said. And that's the problem, is because we think no one fears God. We've been taught that, oh, you can take him and nail him to a piece of wood. No, you can't. You can't even look at God. You're to respect him. He alone is God. He alone gets to make the laws, and we are to obey those laws. And one of those commandments, read Deuteronomy chapter 13. Explicitly, we are told that if anybody preaches that anyone other than the Father is God, we are to execute them.
And you talked about how you want to be on death row. The victim's family wants to be on death row. I'm sure there's been a lot of parishioners, a lot of people here that have been wanting to know why you did this. You answered those questions. Is there anything you want to say to that victim's family about why you did this?
Well, yeah, I consider God to be my father, and people go to church to learn about God, and he's teaching them that a human being is God. No, he's not. So his father erased my father, so I erased his father. It's tit for tat. What about our creator? What about my father? He's my daddy. When does he matter? When do the words that departed from his mouth matter? When do we start obeying him and stop following these false teachings? So if I'm the one that's got to step out there and make the first move, then so be it. And like I said, I have zero fear. I'm not afraid of the government. Nothing happens without God's permission. An ant doesn't crawl across the ground without his say-so. So when I say put me on death row, I'm not saying I want to die. I'm saying you can't kill me. And I'll demonstrate that. Because God is protective. That's where we get it from. We're protective of our children. He's protective of his children. Adam is his first and only created son in his image. Israel is his firstborn son. Adam wasn't born, he was created.
It's called faith. We have to have faith in a higher entity than ourselves. Whatever your entity that you follow is, you have to have faith to believe in them. It's not always visibly in front of you. And whatever makes you feel comfortable in life so that you never feel alone is most important while you're here on earth or in space coming up, right? We don't know. But who's he to make any comments against God and his firstborn and who the firstborn is and the second coming of Christ, right? That's something else that's been talked about. What's his discussion about that?
Adam's first, Adam returns last. So
I'm going to end it there because it was coming to the end of his interview, but I definitely we need to stay on top of this and make sure that everybody knows what's going on with him. I pray that he was working alone in his schedule and plan. I don't want others to be any religious figures being affected by this. It started out in the original a couple weeks ago and back on April 27th, 28th with Father Bill. I hope it stops there and this prevents from any other I'll say religious fanatics in my own words, right? That's my opinion, description of how he is. But I don't understand where he's getting his logic from without clarification, speaking with others to understand. He's just reading in his tent in the desert and realizing this is his plan to take people out. And if we kill him, if he's executed, then like I said earlier, is he not going to die? Will he come back in spirit form and we'll see him? I don't understand the verbiage he's using and how it is explained in his mind so that we all understand. So that's the latest information that I have as an update. Again, my subscribers asked for updates, so I pulled that together for us. We'll be watching it in the coming weeks, months, and see what's going to happen. I hope that and I believe I shared with you I did not share with you the Q&A yet. So let me do that also. It was a section on the Q&A section that was, let me open that up. Sorry. It's I pulled it from, will it allow me to do it? Present, share screen. No. I have the video right here. I want to show it. So let me go back to YouTube and pull it up there. And you'll see what the latest comments were during the Q&A section of a press conference that was held yesterday. Let's put it here. Make sure I have the right one. Videos. Okay. There we go. So I'm going to share this one now. There we go. So this was from the Q&A section. So I just spliced it after the overall press conference regarding children violence and how we're protecting our children. So watch the whole one. I put that out there also on my channel. But let me play this for you so you can see it.
This is in regards to the New River pastor.
Yes.
First question is, can you give us an update on where things stand with Adam, the suspect, alleged suspect?
Yes. My office has received a submittal on that case relating to the homicide, and we are currently in the process of reviewing that submittal.
Okay. Second to that, is there a timeline as to where things stand as far as an indictment or anything like that at this point?
I can't talk about, whether this would go grand jury or result in an indictment or not. But what I can tell you is we are quickly reviewing it with all due haste. We know that the tragedy that this represents.
Was this furthered back to MCSO?
Was this what?
Was this, excuse me,
Furthered?
Furthered back to the MCSO?
No, it's been under investigation by the sheriff's office, and then they submitted the case to us.
And as far as Coconino County is concerned, do you want this case to be handled by Maricopa County?
The homicide did occur in Maricopa County, so obviously that would take precedence.
Okay.
So that'll bring you up to speed as far as yesterday and the clip I pulled from the Q&A section. It was a different topic, but during the Q&A, the reporter did ask specifically about the status of Pastor Bill. And so I'm glad I grabbed it and I clipped it because it kind of brings you up to date as of yesterday. Plus the story articles that were, the videos that were done from Channel 12 News, which I was very happy with and presented well. We'll see what happens in the coming weeks, months, like I said. And I hope you get a chance to subscribe to my channel to watch further updates. And I hope to see you soon. Take care now.